Sweet. Hey, Pat B. Adam Willis is out today, but don't worry, we have an action-packed show for you on the Geek Down on WEMF Radio.
Leaping forward bionically.
That's funky. Bob with me. You're not popping. Why? The rage. It's okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Geek Down here on WEMF. I am Pat B. In the house on the side of me is this gentleman, very official, very specific, waving at the camera. You know him as the ruler of Omicron Persei 8. I'm talking, of course, about Just Johnny.
Yo.
Hey, he always understated.
Yep.
All right. And, of course, looking across the table from me, the very professional,
I know, I defy description.
I know. No, of course. I'm talking, of course, about tertiary adjunct of Unimatrix 01, Mix Macabre.
Yo.
Ahoy. Alright. And in-house, we also have a couple of special guests. If you're watching us on twitch.tv/thegeekdown, you can actually see them. I'm talking, of course, about Phoebe.
Hi, great to be here.
Hey. And Melissa.
Hello.
And these fine individuals are here from the City Steampunk Festival. Alright. So we're going to talk to them in a few, and you're going to give us some good information and good inside stuff on what's going down at the festival.
Will do.
All right, cool. For any of our listeners who are not familiar with steampunk, though, do you want to give us a quick rundown on what exactly is steampunk?
Oh, well, that's one of those questions you ask, three people and you're going to get five answers. My elevator pitch is that it's the world as if everything H.G. Wells and Jules Verne wrote about was true when we lived in a world of fantastic airships and submarines and giant robots made out of clockwork and goggles and airships and ray guns, oh my.
I like it. I'm envisioning like Teddy Ruxpin come to life. All right, let me know if in the ballpark.
Pat, you're old.
What? People know Teddy Ruxpin, okay? How dare you?
I'm kidding.
Thank you. All right, fine. My ego's been all cut down and
Steampunk
stuff.
is goths who found brown.
I've heard such things.
That's my favorite.
Stick some gears on it,
Well, it's all about gluing broken clock pieces, am I correct?
Yeah, you glue cogs to yourself, right? And that's steampunk?
That's one way to do it. Phoebe, what's your 30-second description?
I like the really shorthand of Victorian science fiction. Like if you imagined if you were in the long 19th century in various places in Europe and Asia, and you imagined what the future looked like based on the technology you had at the time, which was mostly steam-powered.
Okay.
That's a great description right there.
Why, thank you.
Very succinct, almost like it was written down and rehearsed beforehand.
If you look at maybe like for the gamer listeners out there, maybe games like BioShock, Dishonored, those are all sort of come to mind as steampunk-esque.
I would agree.
Yeah. The Lion King, Snood.
Totally. Look, you throw a corset on Scar, it's steampunk. He's the right colors.
Yeah.
I've been to that website. It's not very pretty.
Not enough cogs.
All right, so we have. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost forgot the golden-voiced individual, the sexiest man in the room, DJ Herbie Herb. The sexy and silent. I don't know what
muffled
that
robot
was.
noises.
The strong silent type.
Oh, I was like, God, I thought that was Golem.
I thought that was heavy breathing.
I'm like, the sexiest one in the room. Oh, my God. This guy. All right. Now, DJ Herbie Herb, keeping it sounding crisp and delicious. Like I said, you're listening to us on WEMFradio.com. And if you're not watching on twitch.tv/thegeekdown, you can check us out and actually jump in and talk to us during the broadcast. Now, I want to jump into a quick discussion real quick because I want to get your opinion, Johnny. Everybody's opinion in the room, but also especially Mr. Macabre, your opinion, because you're one of the few individuals that I know is versed on everything.
I know everything about everything.
Everything about everything. Yes. The humble and meek as all. But no. Okay. Samurai Jack, Invader Zim, Ben 10. These are some shows that are being rebooted and brought back to broadcast television. Now in different forms. They're not all just we're bringing back the show in new episodes, which actually would be kind of cool in some cases. But that's not what they're doing. They're actually doing a new Ben 10 series after it's only been off the air for 4 years.
No,
Ben 10's.
It depends on what you're going for, because original Ben 10 has been off for way longer, but they had a kind of continued series.
Well, the problem with that is it was Ben 10 was ongoing and canonical.
It was bad.
No, Ben 10 was awesome. What are you talking about? Hater. How dare you? I'm all wearing my onion shirts right now. Fight! Yeah. Blows will be thrown, fur will fly. But no, what I'm getting at is a lot of shows are being redone and re-released.
Nostalgia's big
to the public.
Nostalgia's
big, but I think this MS.
Yeah, well, that's kind of its own special deal.
Yeah, but
it's not really. I don't know how to put this. It's like a rebootiquel.
It's like a rehashing for a new generation.
I think they call that a soft reboot.
They call
instead of a firm reboot.
I call it a
Yes.
I call it a
Hard
backward buttle.
reset.
Speaking of the rebooting reboot.
Yeah.
Again?
No, they've been trying to reboot for eons. Okay, I myself followed reboot until the bitter end.
Same.
So there's no reason we want to see that back. Matrix, come on. But
Hexadecimal.
What I'm getting at is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is this a good thing?
It's a mixed
Is this
bag.
introducing to new generations, or is this a bad thing where it's cheapening the effect of the shows?
I think it varies by show, though.
Okay, well then.
Because Samurai Jack, let's just hit on Samurai Jack for example.
Yes.
For those who haven't been watching it, this doesn't no spoiler whatsoever. It is a little bit more adult content than the original series, which had a lot of subversive adult content. But this one, and again, this is really not a spoiler. He bleeds a ton.
Yeah,
and it is a lot of existential crisis, and it's really interesting, and I think is a very interesting narrative to explore now, as it feels like Samurai Jack has grown up with its audience, whereas other things that are being rebooted, like Ben 10. Are they just making another kid show? Because here's where you get into the issue of reboots, rehashing. Is it going to fall into the kind of Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go? So it really exactly exactly. But then Samurai Jack went the other direction and kind of took it in a more adult. And I don't want to say adult because it's still easily a show for teens, but it has. It is,
but they've gone Tarantino levels of blood.
Yeah, they have actually. It's rough, and it in a good way though. I feel that it explores a lot of things that couldn't be touched in the original. I think that's kind of the crux of it for me. Is the reboot or the rehashing or the soft reboot, the gentle reboot? Is it being done to explore something that was not able to be explored in its original narrative? Is there something that in 2017 we can do that we couldn't then, or is it just nostalgia's hot right now, so let's bring back the Muppet Babies.
Okay, and it's easier to reboot something that you already own than to invent something new.
Well, okay, that was my original problem. Risk. It's basically going back over ideas that had their time. These are things that were presented to the public that had their fan base and their run, and it was awesome. And then now it feels like a quick cash grab. You actually posed a point that I didn't think about, and my original point was. Or at least I'm obviously of the mindset that this is a bad thing. That this is cheapening the memories.
But Samurai Jack is amazing.
Samurai Jack is good, but Samurai Jack was one of those shows that ran and then was canceled before it got a chance to come to a natural culmination.
Which is true, but that kind of touches upon what I meant by what can we do in 2017 that we could not do then. I don't want us, as someone who really did enjoy the original Ben 10 series, I could see them doing a really interesting show in 2017, exploring more. They never really went into too deeply, this kid can turn into. Doesn't that mess you up psychologically?
No, okay. You mean Ben?
They
touched on it. They didn't delve deeply enough.
This is what I'm talking about, though.
Because it's still a kid's show. You're talking about. I'm not talking about deeply cerebral.
I don't mean super, but if you aimed at a demographic ever so slightly more than Ben 10 did. Let's say Ben 10 was 7 to 15 as a general audience, whereas what if it was aimed more toward that tween audience these days? I feel it could have been a richer, more interesting show that appealed to an even wider demographic.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. The key example that we actually have seen, that we still have to this day, that has had the.
Well, there's Kevin 11.
The character?
Yeah.
What about him?
He gets real hecked up.
Oh, no, I'm going outside of the series.
Okay.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've seen so many variations, so many reboots.
Yeah, but the newer series quite good, actually.
Yes, but think about the bad ones before then, the live action. There was the good series in 2003, which they followed up with what? The follow-up to that, where they changed the production company, they changed the animation, they changed the writing,
and to be
fair, they changed the theme and made it more kiddie, and then you got Fast Forward. Supposedly the same series, but a completely different series, and it was garbage.
I distinctly recall both of us going to see the newer Ninja Turtles movie, though, thinking it was going to be a steaming pile of garbage and enjoying it.
True, but we enjoyed it because it was a steaming pile of garbage. It was just hilarious steaming. It is very quiet in this room. All right. Does anybody else have differing opinions, same opinions? Want to tell me how right I am?
I think it depends on whether the original creators have,
that's
whether
a good
they're
point.
consulting
Yep.
on the project or directly involved on the project. If they have any involvement whatsoever, then me personally, I would be on board, especially for Invader Zim.
Okay,
but
see,
if it doesn't have the original creator, I'm out.
Yeah, like Invader Zim, for example, there's been a teaser trailer released, and it's quite obviously the same voice cast. And in true fashion, the creator is just tweeting about how fake it is and how it's not real and how it's not happening. So
Jonathan Vasquez.
Just Jonan. He's just a jerk, and he spells it that way to annoy you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he does.
No, I know.
The guy
I know.
is just an angry If you want to carry teenage angst after you've made millions and you are 40 something and still acting like a 17-year-old, that's your business.
A really, really brief, fun mixed macabre story is that many years ago, pre Invader Zim. When he was still just putting out Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, and it hadn't even been collected yet, I literally ran into him at a Comic-Con. Like, I bumped into him, and I helped him pick up all his stuff, and he was like, come by my booth, I'll give you a comic. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, weird goth guy. All right, ginger goth, I don't need this. He was wearing, it was 90 degrees. He's in a trench coat. And I'm like, whatever. And of course, it turned out to be him. And, if I had gone by his booth and gotten, a signed comic, that would have been super cool.
Well, still, though, no, I don't blame you.
This was, I don't even know how many years ago this was. This had to be,
I'll show you
98 or something. This had to be...
Oh, just before, Zim took off. Actually, just before Squee took off.
Yeah, this is, we're talking, 98, 99 at most when this happened. This is not recent.
Herb was just a baby with an afro back then.
That's right.
But yeah, no, but that's a really good example. Zim is very clearly being done by the same crew.
That is not always a good thing. It was the same cats that brought back Biker Mice from Mars.
Well, that's the thing.
That was criminal and a tragedy. Yeah, I know.
I love the original so much.
Use the pain. Use the anger.
If I have to go to my secret happy place, it's me eating microwavable mini hot dogs branded with Biker Mice from Mars. I don't know if any of y'all know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, that's my happy place right there. It's like watching Biker Mice from Mars, eating the Biker Mice from Mars branded miniature individual microwave hot dogs.
See, I'm all about the Ghostbusters. The Ninja Turtles pies and the Ghostbusters original Ecto Cooler in the boxes.
That wasn't kosher.
Okay, look, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm black. You can only have one limited thing at a time. You grow up poor in the hood. Okay, Ninja Turtle pies are a delicacy.
I walked uphill both ways for Ninja Turtle pies.
It's like, what's that? These are rare miniatures. It's a freaking Polly Pocket.
But yeah, I think what it's looking like is it has to do with creator intent, and it has to do with also the way in which it's being expanded or rebooted. Is it a money grab? Is it Ninja Turtles being crammed out so they can throw out more toys? Or is it Samurai Jack, a labor of love? So it's really, we're going to have to explore it on an individual basis. I do feel that there's been this wave of 80s, 90s nostalgia that's been just going real hard lately. Totally. And it's obvious that this trend is going to continue with the reboots and the remaking and the mining the 80s, 90s demographic of content to put out new
strip
stuff
mining
there.
Of everything you cared about to make a fast
Look,
buck.
I want that Kid Icarus movie, all right? I'm holding out.
Stop. Actually, you know what? If that I would patronize that just for the theme song. Okay, Kid Icarus featuring the NES Pro Wrestlers and then the music from Blaster Master. Just as this is a good idea. I was trying to write this down.
You take this to the bank.
Okay, want to introduce Ninja Kid as a cameo guest star. Who else we got there? Cubert is like the neighborhood slut.
Why are you like this?
Bad thing. I'm sorry.
Why are you like this?
I imagine Cubert as the angry old man that's swearing all the time.
Really?
That is to be
just
fair.
Those asterisks and ampersands and.
Get off my bleep, bleep.
I just want to point out, this is the prestigious show you all agreed to be on. All right. Okay. So then I guess next thing to broach there is how long is a legitimate amount of time to wait before they reintroduce?
Oh, they're gonna. It's like 5 minutes. They're already rebooting The Mummy.
That's
The Mummy came out. It's not a reboot?
Well, it's a reboot of the old Universal Monsters. It's not a reboot of the Brendan Fraser movie, if that's what you were thinking.
But that's still... Okay, I didn't know that.
But wasn't
the Brendan Fraser
a reboot?
Yeah, Brendan Fraser one was...
It was meant to be its own Mummy story, as opposed to the Mummy from the old Universal horror movies.
Well, I like
This is why I stick to werewolves, guys.
Well,
this is why I stick to werewolves.
It's also, because
but it kind of follows.
Yeah, that Underworld series is so
every
uncomplicated.
Mummy movie tends to follow a formula, and it was kind of satirizing all the Mummy convention movies, but it wasn't technically supposed to be.
Oh, see, I thought it was
that.
I thought it was the Mummy. I thought it was the Mummy.
It is.
I thought it was like that Mummy.
Well, they're trying to launch a.
I don't want to be rude.
Universal Monsters
and just assume
universe.
about mummies.
Yeah, that I heard.
Exactly. Yes, they're for some reason they
give
think
me that
that's
creature
a
from the Black
viable,
Lagoon.
shared universe to rival the Marvel one, which I'm not quite sure what they think.
That also I think is a mistake.
Yeah.
If they want to introduce these monsters, let them be organic. If they're actively trying to bring, like, some of the coolest things was like Abbott and Costello meet.
Don't talk too soon. I was about to say because the more they do this, the more likely Monster Squad reboots come in.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the good stuff.
Nobody wants that.
Wolfman's got darts.
Look, if
Johnny and I'll go. You don't have to go.
If they bring back the Goonies, cool. I will support that. Monster Squad, that ridiculous, a bit of like drag.
I got
the best.
Goonies cross Monster Squad.
Goonies versus Monster Squad. Yes. Take that to the bank, Hollywood.
Who are you people?
Yes.
People who enjoy fun things and zest for life.
No, maybe little monsters cross with gremlins.
You take a slice of pizza, you slap Dracula in the face with it.
I'm gonna go home and watch Monster Squad. I'm so excited now about this.
Well, just gonna take it all, put it in a blender, and whatever comes out.
It will be horrible. Yes, you're right.
They did that. It was called Stranger Things. It was wonderful.
Stranger Things. You know what? Everyone loves Stranger Things. I liked it.
What is Stranger Things but an amalgam of 80s?
I was bored, man. It was just like this drug out.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
it was nothing but a blender of 80s tropes. It didn't actually say anything or mean anything.
I'm an 80s kid.
I hate all of you right now.
Yeah, that's why most people
none of you are my friends.
I'm sorry.
We are unfriends now.
But it didn't mean anything.
The most enjoyment I got out of Stranger Things was laughing at the lack of appreciation for Barb, who was just there and thought, oh, okay, she's going to be the curmudgeon friend who teaches them a Bible lesson by the end. No, she's just dead.
I just got bugged. Yo, that's a spoiler,
Pat. Model. You can't discover what's working and what's not in the process and get audience reaction and adjust to it because you have to make everything front-loaded.
Well, that's the problem. Everyone thinks the Netflix model is, all these great shows, they go to Netflix and they make a mint and everyone loves them. It's like, no, there's these few shows that we know. There's like, 15, 20 popular Netflix shows out of how many hundreds?
Largely, I actually think that it has been improving television, but one of its downsides is there's no way to course correct because you have to front load it. So now they're in this, Barb is super popular and we killed her. Sorry, spoiler alert.
If you haven't binged Stranger Things and you care about it by now, you've already messed yourself up. But I have a real question concerning Stranger Things now that we're on this topic, though. Let's go around the room.
They have not rebooted Stranger Things.
No. Seriously, I've noticed a correlation between this going around the room. Do you like the movie Aliens?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Communist brownie hound do you think I am?
Of course. Aliens. Do you like the movie Prometheus?
No.
Yes.
No.
Love it.
Everyone who loves Prometheus also loves Stranger Things because it's that same kind of drawn-out narrative of the lurking,
okay, so it's a matter of taste versus not having taste. I get it now.
I wouldn't read too much into Stranger Things and associate it with
taste. I know it's awful.
A near masterpiece like Prometheus.
I really love Prometheus.
Prometheus, like
her.
Johnny and I are our best friends.
You want to cut this fool's mic for me, please? Thank you. Okay, so as we were, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I have
How dare
a secret
you put that out
chalkboard and I just raised the points.
That is broadcast and recorded for the ages. You realize that in a few thousand years, somewhere
they're going to be like, Johnny and I love Prometheus. When the aliens come for us, we will be spared because we love the good movie.
Little purple hermaphrodite half men in Alpha Centauri are gonna acknowledge that
just because you're uncomfortable with your alien xenomorph sexuality, Pat, doesn't mean you have to.
Look, I'm sorry. Okay, I went through puberty. Okay, that queen with the tongue in the mouth thing. I had visions, but at some point we have to grow up and realize that cinema is cinema and garbage is garbage. What was it? We had a topic we were actually talking about.
The hard thing about that is that you do grow up, and sometimes you look back at the things you loved as a kid, and you realize that was crap. And if they produce it again now, if they reboot it and they reboot it like it used to be, it's still going to be crap.
Very
and if they reboot it to where I would like it now, it's not what it's not the same thing that I fell in love with as a kid.
One thing I found, the single merit of that I can kind of get behind is when you reboot these things for the sole purpose of reintroducing something to a new generation. And I acknowledge that mostly that's done for marketing purposes. They brought back Thundercats a few years ago.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Which, it didn't go well, but the original Thundercats were very popular because the show, well, besides the cool ass theme song, that it was completely undeservingly cool theme song.
Yep.
It was a show where the toys sold really well. So
Yeah,
after that was
I had all
canceled,
of
you
them.
forgot about it for a long. You did, really?
I had every single one.
I couldn't afford a damn thing.
Oh, we got them second.
Rich dude. Look at this one.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I lived in a palace filled with Thundercats.
All right, moneybags.
I watched Netflix had Secrets of Isis, which was a 70s kids show that I loved as a kid. I got through about 3 episodes of it for the nostalgia value and realized this is awful. I can't take it anymore.
No, they were not great. There was Isis that ran
Shazam.
Oh yes. And Melissa and I just became instant friends.
Meanwhile, I just rewatched all of the Highlander cartoon series. So, like, what do I know? I don't know what's good.
I have not seen that. I looked for it, like you said.
McLeod.
I looked for it, like you said. I couldn't find it.
I'll burn it for you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Mean you will let me borrow your legally acquired copies? Thank you. Thank you.
They don't care, Pat.
Someone out
Someone
there.
No,
always
Pat.
cares.
The day
The
someone,
magic internet fairy
Look,
just left it on my hard
This is
drive.
Trump Pence in America.
Pat, the day
I
someone
take no
comes after
chances.
me for the Highlander animated series.
You know, I kind of want it to happen. There was no better story I would love to tell in jail.
Come for me.
Yeah, no greater story. Man,
I have
I'm gonna tell you what happened, how I ended up in cell
Highlander
block C.
animated series.
All right, there were 4 episodes of Wishbone, right?
What's your story?
Man, okay, look what happened, right? It was
What you
square
in
one.
for?
I was trying to teach my
No,
nephew
what's the
math,
story,
right?
Wishbone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was referring-
The Red Badge. No,
I missed
no.
that. I was a
I
big
missed it the
Wishbone
first time.
fan.
I got it
What's
the
the
second time. The
story,
Red Badge of Courage. They
Wishbone?
showed what was it, Yorkshire Terrier?
Jack Russell.
Jack Russell, thank you. They showed a Jack Russell Terrier
A white
catching a
dog.
gun butt to the face on camera. I'm like, this is my show. I am all in.
My
The
favorite
best-
was the Scarlet Pimpernel.
The best thing was they
Pimpernel.
did these tie-in books where they sort of gave a simplified version of like these classic novels, and they would do the Wishbone thing where he was, a character in the story the same way he was, except he was.
They did Wishbone Cliff's Notes.
Well, sort of. It was more just like somebody retold the story simplified, but Wishbone was doing his traditional thing of being a character in the story. So one of the characters was just a little dog, and it was considered totally normal. Nobody noticed. So they talk, like when he was Charles Darnay in A Tale of Two Cities, they would talk about his paws and his ears and his tail. And he would just be this little dog in A Tale of Two Cities that, like, had adventures and married a human and, like, nobody commented on it. And I loved it.
Oh, man, you just told me something. I want to check those out now.
You should. They were great.
This is the future liberals want.
Well, the most I would.
Yeah.
Why is this a bad future? It sounds awesome.
I'm kidding.
It's like that.
Little
and
dogs
Liberty.
having classic literary adventures? Sign me up.
Marry humans.
All right. Well, we've gone a little long on this.
Yes,
We should probably
right.
wrap it up. The thing I was getting at with the Thundercats thing was they bring those back to sell toys, but also the show has become popular with generations, and that carries over. So that becomes the thing that they appreciate when they brought it back. It was a good 20 plus years after it had gone off the, maybe not 20, but close to 20 years
No,
after
just
it had gone off
about,
the air.
yeah.
The first time, so they brought that back, and the new generation is introduced to it and can appreciate the new spin taken on it. Thundercats was a boring show. Loved it as a
that
kid,
movie
but I
was so
fully
good though.
acknowledge.
The movie with the TV movie was so good.
Oh, the live action
With the
one, yeah,
Lunatics. No, the one with the real movie, the Thundercats, the movie with when they go up against the
That wasn't-
Lunatics.
I remember that. The Lunatics were weird.
What? It was the best. Chilla was the best.
Oh, Lunatics.
I can
were
name
later.
all of them. Oh man, why do you like this?
You were trying to.
If I hear any more obscure TV series shows
just
coming up,
Thundercats.
I'm gonna start. What show
It's
do you
just
think you're
Thundercats.
on?
Yeah.
Thundercats isn't obscure.
I just have this fear
It's the
that
return
one
of
of you is
Mumra.
gonna
It's like the best.
like be like, oh, remember Fraggle Rock? It was so great, and I'll be
Please.
like,
Fraggle Rock was the worst.
Dun, dun,
All right,
dun,
thank
dun,
you.
dun,
I
dun,
do
dun,
aspire to
dun,
grow
dun,
up
dun,
to
dun.
be the
Uh-oh.
singing trash heap, though.
uh oh. I think I see Fraggle Rock, a lover over here.
Fraggle Rock was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I
How
was trying
dare
to
you.
think of like
Okay.
obscure TV shows to throw at you.
Yeah, dude.
The Tomorrow People were rebooted
Fall
4
Guy.
times.
I
Soul
watched
Squad.
Tomorrow People.
There's a new one on
Who cared
Netflix
that
right
much?
now.
They had 2 episodes in the original, and they played them like endlessly.
There was the original, then there was the one on Nickelodeon that I grew up watching that I
that's the
really
one that
liked.
I saw.
No, that's not the original. There was an
Really?
earlier one.
the 70s
Yep.
version, yeah.
That's
I
the
didn't
original.
know that.
That's the original Tomorrow People.
With this completely ridiculous episode with very young Peter Davison, aka the Fifth Doctor, in his first TV appearance.
Yep.
It's the most
The point
ridiculous,
is,
awful
it's been
episode.
rebooted 4 times.
I just want to know who wanted that. Like,
There's more than 2 episodes. Mega Brain had his own.
There's audiences for everything. One thing I found, we
The
had a long
Weird
discussion
Bees.
about
There were
Power
4
Rangers.
separate storylines.
Power Rangers has been around since the 70s. We didn't get it until the 90s. That was a Super Sentai series. And where we knew it as different shows with different teams of kids, it's just been one endless stream in Japan. Where it's like every year was a different season. Every season was a different team. And then we're just like, well, you know, we got Jason and Trini and all those. And we keep swapping them out because it was popular. Over there, it never friggin' ended. Even now, or maybe not now, it went to like 2013. But from like, we're talking from like 1972 to 2013. Okay, that's a legitimate run. But doggone it, I had a nice point I was going to close out on, and like literally brain fart. Well, let me talk about Power Rangers for a second. Well, anyways, okay, I'm of the point. It still seems like a bad thing to me. It's good to bring some things back for nostalgia purposes, and then you give them like a TV movie. You close it out. You know, you wrap up a story. When it's something like Biker Mice from Mars, you see the worst case scenario. You know, versus Ninja Turtles, where is a perfect example of when they just won't let something die. The only good ones since the first show, which I do acknowledge was corny as hell, have been flukes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and shout out to Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
I remember that.
Cowboys of Moo Mesa ran alongside Crow.
Generation of Furries.
How about this for a reboot?
Boy. What's up?
Why not reboot Looney Tunes? Like
they did that. It was called Space Jam.
Yeah, it was.
But that's a movie.
That's disgusting.
I'm talking about like the classics. Give me more Looney Tunes. I need Wile E. Coyote. I need Bugs Bunny. I need
because they kind of did that though a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think they kind of are around. Maybe not consistently, but
they also did that. It was called Tiny Toons.
That does not count.
No, that totally counts, and I'll tell you why. Here's where my cartoon historian comes out.
That was the update to the originals for our generation.
Absolutely. The originals were just serials to be thrown in as filler between newsreels when folks would go to the theater because they didn't have home televisions. Now, those got really popular, so started doing more, and then they got individual directors, and they got individual series, and then Tom and Jerry becomes its own thing.
Good old Tex Avery.
Yep, Tex Avery was the fucking man.
I know.
Thank you. Symphony and Slang is still one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I know the freaking name. And I watched that racist ass.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'm about to go off on a rant.
We're going on a rant. Save it, Pat. Simmer it.
Absolutely. What they did was when those got really popular, they would put them into their own blocks, and then they would make those blocks available for home purchase, and that's how we got to know Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies and all those. These were things that would be shown to adults and were never meant for kids, but really jibed with kids. So they started marketing to kids, and then toys are being made, and then breakfast cereals come about. You know, then kids are buying T-shirts and, you know, little toys and watching spin-off shows on Saturday afternoons. And then eventually it culminates with the horribleness of Tom and Jerry Kids.
That wasn't
Why
so
do you
bad.
hate fun, Pat?
Look, the dude had a freaking painter's cap with the thing flipped up like every jive.
Why do you hate fun, Pat?
If you have anything to say on this subject, please hit us up at geekdownradio@gmail.com. We'll continue the conversation. Or also you want to tell me how correct I am and throw out some of the references of your own. We've gone way too long on this. I apologize. Herb is over there. This man had to go to the bathroom for a half hour, and I'm kidding.
Lunatics Unleashed was awesome.
Why? What?
Thank you, friend.
Stop it. Stop it.
Thank you so much.
No more from you tonight.
Thank you for the support.
I still can't get off the image of like Herb as a baby with a goatee, just there, chilling, shaving.
Happened.
Mama, I'm not a racist. All right, so
moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Johnny and I got to check out. Dude, this is a game that we actually discovered at PAX a few weeks back.
Yeah,
and we actually got a chance to play it this week. They sent us a demo, and they sent us the proper version. And dude, I think it's safe to say I had a good time. Your experience similar, I hope.
Yeah, it is a very good time. Slime Song is probably like take Super Meat Boy and just add way more weirdness in a game. You know, Super Meat Boy is already like a weird thing. You're playing as a meat and you're sliding around the walls.
Well,
and
as a
stuff
guy
like
with
that.
no skin, how weird could that be?
But now you're a slime and you're swallowed by a worm and you're in its like intestinal tract.
Well, it sounds like a Full House script adapted for then pixelated. I don't see what's weird about that at all. Yeah, no, if anyone's unfamiliar, we're talking about a game called Slime Song with Johnny's correct. You play basically like a very large booger It's just a
Yep.
he's just, you play a bit of slime that's ingested by a worm, and the entire game takes place in this worm's intestine inside his
Just
body.
like real life.
Yep.
You've been swallowed. You have to try to get out. That's the basic crux of it.
And it's a collection of levels, and I think every 4 levels is kind of like a chapter, and there are tons and tons of levels in this game.
Yes, there are.
I went through probably 30 to 40 levels, and there was still like way more left to do, and there's boss battles, and there is like this city of weird NPCs that are inside.
Yeah, that's one
the
thing I really
worm.
like. There's like you come across societies of other things that this giant worm has swallowed. This giant gargantuan, extra hungry Galactus-esque worm has swallowed. And while you're trying to get out and save yourself and live your life, they've just resigned themselves to this is our fate now. We just live here. And they've set up shop. They've built homes. They've built cities. They've built casinos for themselves.
Is the exit where I think it would be on the worm?
Oh,
No.
goodness.
Okay.
Well, that's what's weird. Okay, this is the thing that I actually got from the game, and I'm just like,
The worm
okay, this is a
anatomy
logistics
was what was
problem.
weird.
The worm anatomy, yeah, it was a little bit off from my own home study. No, it's like you get swallowed by the worm. That's when you start the game, but you start off at the very back, which poses 2 questions. One,
How'd you get there?
exactly, what kind of like warp tunnel exists in this dude's tonsils? And 2, it's not the prettiest way, but you're trying to get out. You're right by an exit. I'm just saying.
If you wanted it bad enough, you
Yeah.
could have figured it out.
You suck it up, and you. Well, anyways, so John, like you mentioned, also it's a platformer.
Yeah.
We mentioned Super Meat Boy. To anyone who's not familiar, Super Meat Boy is a platformer, but also a notoriously complex,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
unforgiving
I
platformer.
A
was
very-
bad at it.
A very high twitch, high skill, fast. Actually, this one almost seems like it's faster paced than Super Meat Boy when you're not holding down that morph button to sort of slow down time.
Yeah, that's an
It
element I
is
really
fast.
liked. It uses the environments. Not a lot of platform games use their environments other than making them an obstacle. This, you use your environments kind of as a tool. There's the green, I guess like phased platforms and the red ones, and you can use those by phasing through and then blocking at different points and using those to solve puzzles, collect apples, etc. And it added an extra element that you don't normally find in most platforms.
Yeah, it's part of the challenge is knowing when you need to go, I guess, like pseudo slime invisible in order to pass through these green barriers.
I am a hunk of snot with phasing abilities, sir. I am the next level.
And then at other moments you wanna reappear as a slime and be able to wall slide against these barriers, and there's a very fine balance that you need to ride out with that by switching between those 2 things. Also dashing in the air on the ground in order to avoid enemies. So
Okay, that was kind of a pain in the ass to get the hang of, though. One thing I started playing this, it was very reminiscent of Mega Man to me, and that was the thing that like got me there because I love the Mega Man series, and this was my primary experience with platformers. Was like, I have the basics down. I've got this, and this operates this way. And then the concept of jumping and air dashing added it's like a different skill you have, but relearning that added another level of complexity to me. And I don't want to make it, oh well, there was a very complex thing. It was hard as balls.
yeah,
But that took a little adjusting to. That kind of affected my appreciation of the game.
Oh, it definitely takes a while to get used to it. It's because the game itself requires a high level of skill that this
The game itself requires a high level of patience.
well. Yeah. So
Yes.
you have to like constantly like switch, and it kind of like the difficulties, kind of hitting you pretty hard right up front. And I didn't even get used to it yet. I was kind of fumbling because you get pressed pretty hard fairly quickly in order to be able to know when to dash through things and when to like phase dash through things and when to let go of your
when to fling some of your
when to
snot at
unmorph
somebody
and
because
remorph.
they got in your face.
yeah.
When
yeah.
to okay, now also I was a little perturbed. What happened to my pop filter? I'm sitting here. I was a little upset at some of the specific missions, things you have to accomplish for people when you bump into them, because it seemed like they were taking me out of my way, and had those been optional missions rather than have it be a straightforward game, that actually would have, I think, added more to the experience. If they made it kind of like an RPG, added an RPG element to that.
Right. It was.
It's linear, is what I'm saying, and that was a pain in the ass.
It is the linear thing, but at any moment when you are done with a 4-level chunk, you can go back to like the hub, and run around the city and sort of do things within there, and you can. So as you're playing through the levels, you can collect this green heart currency.
The apples, you mean?
Oh, it's apples.
They were apples, yeah.
Never mind.
You of all people with the cheesy apples.
I saw it. I don't know why hearts came into play, but yeah, it was these green apples.
These green's not hearts, yes.
Yeah, makes sense for being inside of a worm.
Gack hearts.
And then you can spend these apples on different kinds of abilities. Not necessarily abilities, but different characters that play differently. You can also get cosmetic stuff. You have like a little bird that is flying around you. I don't know what that bird is for, but you can dress it up. I thought it was like a mascot
or something because you see him in the like in the end screens. Yeah. Yeah. So I thought it was just there like what's his name from Zelda?
Like Navi?
Oh, yeah, like Navi, like Tattle and Tail. Yeah.
Listen. People like turn this thing off.
The bird was very quiet there. I don't
yeah, no, I appreciate the hell out of that too. I met the developer. I met the dude Fabian at PAX.
Yeah, he was super chill. I played that game like 6 times at PAX, but I just unfortunately didn't have time to join y'all on the playing it now.
I remember.
But I spent a lot of time at PAX with that game. It was wonderful.
So I just like to rub it in and say the game was awesome.
I look forward to playing it in my leisure time that I hear exists sometime in
it may have changed me as a gamer.
And the artwork is a lot like a game I played, I don't know, maybe like half a year ago, Downwell?
Downwell, I remember that, yeah.
And the artwork is almost exactly the same. It's like a higher quality NES pixel art. And by higher quality,
it's like a lower quality Marble Madness.
Well, I love its. Like one of the things that really struck me about it was its limited color palette, which is something I really enjoyed. It I think it was like light blue, green, pink, and black, and didn't really have anything else.
It's very soothing to the eye,
and it's very bright. It's very like neon.
It's very
colors.
Neon colors. It has a kind of like almost just actual like neon signage quality to it, and so many games I think would have been compelled to make it a full color game and have almost too much going on, and it was busy to me in a good way, that it had the bright enticing colors, but it never really felt like, oh my god, what am I looking at? I can't figure out what's going on the screen.
Well, this was they used it very well in my opinion, just because since color plays part of your actual gameplay mechanic, keeping it within those due bounds.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like the limited color palette, where it had these very, very bright colors, but only a handful of them.
Yeah, honestly, green was yourself. Green was the slime, which is good. Yeah, the red, which is, I don't know what the red was.
The red was everything bad. The red is the stomach acid that kills you. The red is those platforms that kill you. The red is those spikes. The red is those corrosives. The red is everything that wants you dead.
Those weird creature things that fly and crawl. Yeah. So anything red.
The red is the tape that you have to file papers through to get your taxes and government cheese.
And then I think like variations of blue and gray were just like platforms or ground that you can stand on.
Dude, so besides the difficulty, and there's not really much bad I can say about this. The design was awesome. It was fun to play even after 20 plus levels. It never got stale. The levels are very intricate. And I don't see how they could possibly do a Slime Son 2. There's no sequels here. I think they pretty much shot their wad and now they need a nap. But this was like one hell of a first effort.
It's kind of like they took Super Meat Boy and Mario Galaxy 2, where Mario Galaxy 2 just threw brand new, like weird, interesting gameplay mechanics at you for like just one level, and then that was it. And that's in this game. Like every set of 4 levels is like this new idea, this new gameplay idea. And then they throw it away, and then they introduce something new at the next set of 4 levels. And the very first stage of that 4-level chunk is always going to be like the introduction of what the new gameplay mechanic is. And then they just crank up the difficulty harder and harder. And then by the end of the 4th one, you're like, yeah, that was really fun. So, and then they change it on you.
Yeah, no, I got you. So basically, according to Johnny, so it's like, they gave you ice cream and pizza, and on top of that, took you to like, Dave and Buster's, and they threw that out the window, and then like they gave you blowjobs and resurrecting your dead grandma, and then took you on your 9th birthday again. Like, what? Really? Okay. So I'm assuming you liked it.
I think we both liked it.
Yeah, I did. This is like, I thought it was a very challenging game, but I enjoyed it. You're like, oh my god, it'll change your. Dude,
it was just the gameplay changed.
I'm messing with you, man. I know.
See, this is why I couldn't give a review it, because it would just be me saying the word slime for 10 minutes.
Yes, no, that's true. I kind of wanted that interjected.
Yeah.
We'll edit
slime,
that.
slime.
There you go. It's like over in the corner chanting
Slime.
I got slimed once.
People on the
At the
video
Nickelodeon
can't see
studio.
everything, but this is...
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
No,
Wow.
really?
I was a very little kid.
I don't like the consistency of that one.
The Nickelodeon GAC slime there?
It has oatmeal in it, and I'm not here for it. Although slime is in right now. Go to Michael's. It's the slime center.
Yes.
Really?
That's the
Really?
latest DIY craft is DIY slime.
We do not speak disparagingly
end?
of slime here.
To have slime.
Yeah,
Like
to
to
have...
play with?
So
Yes.
step 1, you want slime, and step 2 is you make slime, and then you enjoy slime.
And then if you're the parents, you clean up the slime that your children have spread all over them.
Yeah, we did horrible things in the 90s, man.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the 90s, we actually talked about 90s nostalgia earlier. Let's talk about 1890s nostalgia.
Nice transition.
And with that, I want to reintroduce Phoebe
Hi.
and Melissa.
Hello.
Hey, and you fine individuals are representatives of...
The Watch City Steampunk Festival being held on May 13th in Waltham, Massachusetts. It is a completely free outdoor festival on Waltham Common with
And the surrounding areas.
And the surrounding area with musical entertainment and speakers and panelists and vendors. So much shopping
And performances.
And so on Waltham Common and down local streets and in the Waltham Public Library and so and
Sounds like you have full coverage there in that particular region of the town.
Yes.
So this is going to be expansive.
It's we're trying to take over downtown Waltham with the steampunks. And
I meant just a street gang. You just take it over.
There'll be street gangs, but they'll be dressed with top hats and monocles and gears glued all over them.
That's awesome. Instead of like Harleys, they're riding penny farthings down the road.
Yes.
Like, who wants some?
What's all this then?
Yeah, and the pirates and the barbershop quartets will get into it, and
oh man,
it's a lot of fun. But also
there'll be mustache wax everywhere.
But also a lot of just the local residents come because we're a free festival we have kids activities and just lots to do. And if you don't even know anything about steampunk, you can just come and enjoy yourself for the day. And a lot of the locals will enjoy that. Okay,
well that's that thing. I'm glad you said that. Because I'm a little bummed Adam isn't here. He's more of the steampunk inclined member of the cast here. And okay, I'm somebody who's fairly new to steampunk. I'm aware because I've seen that one episode of Castle where he wore the pit helmet and stuff.
Which is
but
one of the relatively better public depictions of steampunk
but
by people who have
not
no idea, but not
fabulous.
It was still okay. Well, what did they get wrong then? Help us. We who are not in the know.
I wish we had our own private club that we could hang out in all day, being steampunk.
Awesome.
Wouldn't that be nice?
You guys don't do that? Oh man.
No. Sorry.
They come to the goth club, but then I glare at them in my neon colors, which is just me getting revenge on the goths who glare at me for my neon colors. See, I'm cyber goth. So to explain this in better terms, I'm thank you. I was about to say I'm sharks. And then they're jets. And then I show up to Steampunk World's Fair, for example, in full neon dreads, and everyone's just like, what's all this then?
Well, then
and their monocles pop.
Wouldn't they technically be Nautili? Or, well, the Nautiluses. And then you, Sharks and Jets, would be...
Okay, so what am I to a Nautilus then, Pat? Continue this, please. Prithee, continue.
Well, I'm trying to think.
Or if the Nautilus is the submarine, then it's the giant squid.
The giant squid, yes.
I am fond of tentacles.
Nemo's ship versus the squid.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the best day of my life. We just talked about slime, and I've just been compared to something with tentacles.
Well, there's a Tintin comic here. I really want to broach, but I can't quite work space into it. All right. I feel like Herb's got some rum somewhere in the booth, so we're cool.
I've never made it to Watch City because it just always ended up that I was out of town that weekend. I think this year is the first year that I can actually probably swing by, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Also,
all my jokes about not liking steampunk, it just gives me more impetus to show up in a giant tutu and neon colors.
Come
we don't care. We appreciate time travelers from any time period.
Yes.
Wait, it's not like the
I'm joking. I'm joking. Make it along.
Okay, I was gonna say it's not like the Ren fairs where you have folks coming in classic Star Trek gear, Captain
I've never done that, Pat.
Actually,
That's ridiculous, and I've never done that.
Really? We have pictures.
That's horrible, and why would you ever think that? Why would I ever do that?
I'm sorry.
I
We
went
know
to
you
King
hate
Richards
Star
with a
Trek.
bunch of steampunks one year, and people were looking at it going, "Oh, look, steampunks!" You know, which I'm sure the medieval folks were like, "Why are they paying attention to the steampunks?"
Nerds convocate. It's a thing that they do.
And they have
whatever their
clockwork and
flavor.
gears attached to them. And that steampunk fits right in. I imagine alchemy is big. Unless they're all...
I appreciate steampunks because they like absinthe.
They're a little bit more sort of early Industrial Revolution style science stuff than alchemy specifically.
Yeah, a little mad science.
Yes, mad science is a big thing.
Yeah, and we also throw some actual industrial history in. One of our kind of partners in this is the Charles River Museum of Industry and Innovation, which is this really cool little museum in Waltham that you don't know is there because it's kind of way at the back of an old mill factory. And
it's dedicated to Industrial Revolution era technology. That's, sort of the setting for a lot of the science fiction stuff.
That stuff is awesome, though. I don't understand why it has to be so niche. Because, honestly, I knew the name Penny Farthing. That's because I'm a weirdo. But, no, honestly, it's like you watch old movies, and these were the explorers back before they had all the equipment and sonar and weirdness that we've come to just accept as a factor over time. So the concept of those being brought to future bounds of technology, that's cool as hell. If I could have like a robot, but it's made of like old school like clockwork gear and
one of the fun things about it is it's kind of anti-atavism a little bit. It's like it takes the cool stuff and all the potential and all the excitement of like we are on the cusp of revolutionizing how we do things in the world, but look at how rooted in colonialism it is. Look at how rooted it is in toxic traditions and misogyny and racism and all that stuff. Let's pull that away from all of the the baggage and reimagine it in embracing those progressive ideas that were actually driving it forward that they managed to muck up.
And hoop skirts
because they're fun.
Yeah, there's also a strong element of the maker movement and DIY. Making your own props, making your outfit. There's not necessarily one right way. It's not like I'm going to recreate a Darth Vader costume and it has to look like that. I can make whatever I want.
A good nerd example would be the Batman one-off Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah.
That's steampunk.
Yeah.
Well, there was also Beware the Creeper, which back
yes.
the same.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know these? These are the more prestige format DC books that came out a few years ago. They don't really do that anymore.
No, they don't.
Yeah. But Gotham by Gaslight plays Batman in
steampunk setting.
And so the only information I heard that I heard of before coming here, sort of in exchange, is that Waltham is the steampunk capital, right?
It likes to call itself the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution, which might be a slightly overgrand title,
but people know Lowell, Massachusetts. It had all these mills that were founded by Francis Cabot Lowell, for whom it's all named, but his first factory was in Waltham. And he moved up to Lowell later because he was getting better water pressure out of the Merrimack River than he was out of the Charles and Waltham.
Okay. Good thing he didn't go to Lawrence.
Waltham
he's up there. He got mugged by 3 guys named Fitzy.
And the name Watch City comes from, historically, Waltham had a watch factory. And Waltham watches were, in the day, very prestigious, well-regarded timepieces.
Okay, now I knew about the watch factory. I didn't know Waltham watches was a thing.
Waltham watches were from Waltham. And
okay.
And of course, like everything else, the old watch factory is now condos.
Well, so's our old goth club. So
yeah.
Like, man, the old condo I grew up in is now a condo. Do you believe this? All right.
So an example of one of the events that is going to be happening there is a series of theatrical shows that I write and direct, which are along the steampunk theme. It's called the Mrs. Hawking series, and I like to sell it as what if Sherlock Holmes were more like a Lady Batman?
Interesting.
Again, taking a lot of the cool stuff about, the Victorian period, the gas lamp adventures and the mystery theme and the aesthetic of it with the hoop skirts and the top hats and all that stuff, but kind of taking a minute to address the fact that, it was very classist, it was very racist, it was very colonial, and sort of getting a chance to sort of retell, those exciting stories, thinking about that stuff a little bit more. Like we have this, female protagonist who is, on the surface, this, fairly ordinary Victorian widow who, at night puts on a mask and runs along rooftops and stabs baddies with a knife to help, women who have nowhere else to turn. And we've been doing it as a serial because how else can you do, a mystery series, an adventure series like Sherlock Holmes or Batman other than serially. And we've been doing one new show a year, and we're putting on part 2 and part 3 this time. Requires no knowledge of anything in the originals, and it's going to be at the festival because festivals are very open to slightly more experimental things like serialized theater, which you don't see very often. And
this is also always at Aresia.
Yeah, actually, good memory. We tend to debut at Aresia, and then we go up later.
My Rocky Horror Cast is the cast that does the shadow casting at Aresia.
Oh, that's cool. We've
Tesseract
had several
Yep.
of your actors, like Joy Thaler and Sarah Dion.
Oh, not bad. My street gang rolls our penny farthings upwards.
Bring them!
Ching ching!
Bring it, please. Yeah.
Yeah, this takes place at the Waltham Square, right?
Yeah,
So-
Waltham Common.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
The
The festival is centered around the Common, but also the surrounding area has some events too. My play is like 1 block away from the Common on at 274 Moody Street, and we go up at 2 p.m. with part 2 and 6 p.m. with part 3.
And if you're walking down Moody Street, look in the window displays because the owner of the Mediterranean Grill, the grill Mediterranean food,
Yes.
is allowing us to use an empty storefront, and so we've in the front of the windows we've set up a mannequin wearing an airship and little mad scientist display, and the props for Phoebe's play are sitting in the front window. So if you're
kind of as an installation of what it looks like a little bit.
Yeah. And if you walk past it and it's empty, you know you're missing the play.
Yeah. Yeah, so catch it before we move all our set pieces back to actually rehearse with them.
Nice.
But if anybody's interested in learning more, again, we're called the Mrs. Hawking series, and we're at www.mrshawking.com.
All right. And if we're
mrshawking.com.
If we're interested in finding more about the festival itself,
is at watchcityfestival.com, and also look for Watch City Steampunk Festival on Facebook. We're doing a lot of updates showing off the individual entertainers and the vendors that are coming up, and pictures of things that we're up to, and the crazy women talked about the crazy plot line.
don't give too much away now.
No. It just involves.
Well, you know how at the Renaissance Fair they have a bunch of actors who sort of like embody the people that you would expect in that stylized version of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
We have our own steampunk figures who act out their own plot line.
Oh, nice. So you got like the wacky neighbor. It's going to be the
the corrupt mayor, the mad
corrupt
science,
mayor,
the grifter, the puppet master.
the mad airship captain.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you don't need to follow any of the. It's not like it makes sense anyway. It just does. We got invaded by aliens at the end of last year's festival, so.
I've heard things.
and a giant squid fought a robot.
Yeah, we had a robot versus Kraken fight last time, so.
Why didn't you say that at the start? I'm there.
Are you familiar with Big Nazo out of Rhode Island?
I'm actually not. No.
Okay, they do creature. Giant foam creature costumes and perform as a band wearing giant alien from outer space creature costumes, and we worked with them, and they did they built a robot costume and a Kraken costume and came and did a kind of like kaiju battle with these two people in costumes whacking at each other while the rest of them in their alien costumes are playing rock and roll in the sky. and we were standing there going like, I didn't know this was going to happen. None of us knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
We got invaded by aliens. It was great.
Dude, that is really all you had to say. Okay, so once again, this takes place on December 24th, 1896.
Yes,
If you're a
except
time traveler.
yes, that's where you enter the time travel portal. Where you will be deposited is May 13th, 2017. This is the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend, so you can get your mom a very unique gift at our fine vendors. And again,
goggles.
it's completely free. We will be
Free
announcing
99,
free
kids.
on-site. We are going to be having a Friday night party, which will be a ticketed event. That will be announced very, very soon.
Come in your best farthingale.
Yes.
And find out what a farthingale is. All right,
Ready, go?
Melissa, Phoebe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you guys want to find out any more information, go to www.watchcityfestival.com. And if you want to find out more about the play,
www.mrshawking.com.
all right, awesome. Mrs. spelled out or Mrs. MRS?
MRS.
There you go. All right, thank you very much. All right, and we are going to close out with the lowdown, the inside stuff on Anime Boston. Find out
yes.
exactly what's going down because you've got
Speaking of ancient retro, The theme this year was retro gaming, and they did have some really cool content on that.
You said ancient retro. From what you told me, I thought the theme was oppression.
Oh, yeah. So the
innocence.
theme was retro gaming, and they had a lot of really cool displays and a lot of old meme stuff. Like, they had a great bunch of signs out in the hallway that referenced, like, the weird stuff. Like, I don't even know how to explain this.
Old meme.
Okay, so there's like a big picture that just said Sephiroth a ton of times, but hyphenated different ways. So if you look at it for 2 minutes, you realize that it's just the Sephiroth theme song.
Oh,
which Sephiroth, exactly. And then they had like all your bays, and then they had like, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, but it was like 5 hours of sleep, 2 hot meals, and 1 goddamn shower per day. Some juicy Anime Boston gossip in the Anime Boston social Facebook group. There was some drama that broke out this year over whether or not it is privileged to wear deodorant.
Privilege?
Wearing deodorant is a privilege because it costs money and it's expensive, and thus some people may not be able to afford it. And by saying that people are smelly, you are discriminating against them at the con. There was some spicy discourse about the hot dramas of deodorant gate.
This is somebody who's inhaled that con funk before. Wash your ass, you dirty. Hygiene is like taught in.
This was like a thing, and like I used to go to Anime Boston many years ago as something called the Febreze Fairy, where I would have a little sign that says "Feeling fresh, less than fresh." The Febreze Fairy can help, and I would have. I had miniature deodorants. I have a bunch of pictures of this from like 2006, 2008. I think I did it again. 2009 I did it with like my crazy rainbow dreads, but so it just like it was a really funny thing. And then this year it just was like a theme, so I did see like someone dressed up as like a carton of Axe. Like, it was just really funny element. So it's just like some hot discourse for this year's Anime Boston.
Right.
But
actually, no, if somebody came as Terry Crews and what's his name,
oh, that would have been so good. Oh, can you imagine? Just a towel. Yelling.
Okay, I'd be behind that 100%.
Does anyone remember when you can control him online and he would like play instruments with his muscles, and he would just be like yelling muscles? It was good.
In all fairness, though, that started with the subservient chicken. From,
oh gosh, I remember that.
But anyway, so like Anime Boston.
Talking about old memes.
So. I mean, yeah, there was some great stuff. My favorite thing that I went to was Bad Anime Bad, which is usually like a compendium of just exactly that, bad anime. But because it was retro stuff, the guy that runs it was like, I'm just going to show you some weird stuff from 1977, which was way up my alley, because I'm like, hey, I remember this from when I showed that when I was a kid. Because like, growing up in the early 90s stuff, that's what was shown at 4 a.m. on cable. So I was like, oh, hey, it's that weird Dracula anime. I've seen that. And it was just a really nice, wild ride.
See, I always thought I was detrimented by not getting into anime until, legitimately. I saw like cartoons growing up. Till the 90s I didn't know what it was.
This is going to shock you,
Maybe I dodged the bullet.
So growing up, the way I actually got into anime, the first ever anime movie I ever saw in my whole life, was that my dad was like, oh, anime, my daughter will love this. And so he taped Wicked City.
Yes!
And gave me a VHS of Wicked City.
Yes, my 4-year-old will love this tentacle penetrating this woman's mouth.
I was 13.
Okay.
I know you're all shocked that I'm a burlesque performer and have dubbed hentai professionally, but no. But yeah, so that's how I got into anime, actually. And then Sailor Moon at 6 a.m, of course. But
no Samurai Pizza Cats?
I never got it. It's too annoying.
I loved it.
I like the theme song. It was too annoying. I don't like the annoying.
It was the dude that sounded like Paul Lynde.
I learned Spanish by watching Dragon Ball Z. But anyway, Anime Boston. Well, they are Dragon Ball Zeta. Anyway, so San Telemundo, they were always like 10 episodes ahead of what was being translated. Anyway, so here's my thing.
¿Dónde está el baño?
I hate you. That wasn't even right. So the thing with Anime Boston is this. I don't want to say it's too big for its britches at this point, but the way that certain things are being handled these days, such as the length of time one must wait in lines to get into panels.
There was a line controversy.
It's not as bad as 2008 LineCon, where, like, for those who don't know, 2008, there are many people who literally never got into the convention because they got there at, like, 11 a.m. to pick up their badge, and at 4 o'clock they were still in line, and they were like, I don't want to do this anymore. And they were better about that this year. registration this year was significantly better. They truly did a good job in that way. However, things like the concert, people waited 3 hours easily or more to go get in line to see the concert. There were certain things like the flow of traffic.
I love Right Said Fred as much as anybody, but
yeah,
I wouldn't wait that long.
But that's the thing. So the way I feel at Anime Boston this year, there was this kind of duality of really cool stuff, borderline inaccessible unless you gave up your whole day dedicated to that one content. So like
you're not just talking about either like Celebrity in Demand.
Yeah, there'd be like the Puffy Amy Yumi concert. That was the main concert one day. It was which is really cool. For those who don't know, that's like a really really big name Japanese band, really awesome. But if you wanted to see them and not be shoveled in the back or possibly not get in, easily a 3-hour wait, if not more. I saw people lining up as early as they physically were letting them line up, and that's not necessarily by choice. That's not necessarily like, oh, I don't mind. It's you do that or you are not close enough to the stage. Or things like panels that seemed really cool. I apologize for blanking on the name of the voice actor. There was one who was a Gundam voice actor, very well known.
We talked about that. Oroku Saki. He's very well known.
Why are you doing this to me,
seriously?
Pat?
I'm sorry.
Pat,
seriously.
You are ribbing me hard today. You're having a day. But
what
like put in a room that was too small for the amount of people that wanted to see it. Or things like, I wanted to get into the artist alley at one point and I literally couldn't get in because there was a line all but blocking the door. Is that the con's fault? Now, here's the thing. Part of it is, where's the line drawn between security moving staff moving people, and the people in line just kind of blundering around. But there was this weird feeling.
It's their responsibility to manage that kind of stuff.
What I'm saying is then here's the problem. So that instead of just managing it, there would be someone barking in your face. There'd be someone like, only center doors, but like screamed at the attendants. Like the attendants felt, I don't want to say threatened because that's not the right word, but just, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel like, oh, they just want to move this line along. At one point in the evening, I had discussed with you off air that, toward the end of the evening's activities, there was very little content late night at Anime Boston. Anime Boston is not a 24-hour convention. And by the time it got to be around midnight, the convention staff, this is the Heinz staff, not the Anime Boston staff, but they were assisting. We're all but ushering people out. So if you were like a cluster of 5 people standing in the hallway talking to each other, they'd be like, if you're not at an event, you have to go. And then we'd be like, oh, okay, we're just figuring out where to go. And like without a beat, they'd be like, you have to go. Like it just was really this weird attitude. And I've kind of been bringing this up for a couple of years that I've gone, that more and more, it's just almost like the Heinz loves Anime Boston but hates Anime Boston. Like they're happy to have this giant event but also hate this giant event. Like,
well, it sounds like because these Gestapo security guards were Heinz people, not Anime Boston
but
people.
At what point does it become the duty of the Anime Boston staff to be working with the convention to make it a pleasurable experience? Because it's happened every year.
It's definitely a collaborative effort. It seems like
this has happened every year.
Yeah, it seems like every year they're just trying to over control.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes, exactly. In things that aren't needed. Exactly. They were crowd controlling things that were like tame. Because for Bad Anime Bad is a good example. It was a very large panel. The Anime Boston staff did a wonderful job directing everyone into that panel. Upon exit, there's the Heinz staff barking at you. Move to the exit. Move to the exit. Move to the. And it just puts a damper on what I feel Anime Boston kind of used to be, a very fan collaborative convention, and now it feels, is this a symptom of a con getting larger, or is this a symptom of the way, perhaps a shift in how it's run? I couldn't say, but it feels very impersonal, and it gives me the wrong kind of retro vibe. It made me feel like I was almost an early 2000s con that didn't quite have a feel for where it was located. And it's unfortunate. I don't want to sit here and say like I had a bad time. I had a wonderful time. But I had a wonderful time within what was allowed in Anime Boston. And it kind of feels stifling when you compare a convention that is very quickly growing in size. Similarly, Katsucon, which has had its flounderings off and on, but seems like they are now moving in the right direction, where Anime Boston is kind of moving further and further away from that. Something really quick to look forward to in my eyes is how do other conventions handle outgrowing their original locations or things. I look forward to Boston Comic-Con, which has now moved from the Seaport World Trade Center over to where PAX is located at the BCEC.
Okay, so you think maybe a change of venue could be the same?
I really think so, but unfortunately I know they are locked into a Heinz contract for some time. I don't have any information for how long. I know it's a couple of years at least, but I feel that
when you sign a contract by somebody named R. Shyster.
Right? Part of it, I think, sadly, is that due to circumstances we won't get into here right now, Anime Boston lost its late night dance party. Anime Boston is kind of a, red mark at this point. It's like a dirty word in the name of conventions. It's had a lot of drama to it. And it just doesn't offer, for the price of Anime Boston, it does not offer half as much as what smaller cons offer. And I feel that it's kind of lost its roots.
And they've been bumping that up year after year.
Yeah, so the price of the con goes up, and the content has gone dramatically less content. And this is something that I can get into another time, but a lot of panels this year felt that they were industry panels rather than fan-based panels. There were a lot of like industry-based retrospectives, or here's what's new in anime, Hot Spring Anime presented by whatever brand, instead of, hey guys, I love Gundams. You love Gundams? Let's love Gundams. And it just felt very almost in a New York Comic-Con way. Here's what's hot and new,
and here's what
manufactured.
Yeah, here's manufactured, exactly. Cookie cutter, not as personalized.
So
and I will
tell me how to make my big O cod piece.
I mean, I'll help you with that, Pat. I will help you with whatever cod pieces you need made.
You're very kind, thank you. All right, so Anime Boston, and it will have.
You can put a gear on it.
2 big gears.
Stick a gear on it.
And a dispenser.
Look, any technology that is sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic, so...
Okay.
Steampunk tentacle.
I own one of those, actually.
What?
Okay, we're going down a dark tunnel here. So I think we're just about out of time.
But I do writing on the show.
All right.
In conclusion, Anime Boston, it is what you make of it, and I am saddened by not being able to sit here and say, my God, I had the best time ever. I love Anime Boston. Because a lot of the paneling that I once looked forward to has been kind of weeded out to make room for industry paneling.
I'm sorry, dude, but hopefully they'll
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if I'm there to find out next year.
All right, well, fingers crossed. Tentacles crossed.
Yes, indeed. I didn't see any of those this year.
Oh.
Usually there's one day of the tentacle cosplayer. I didn't see any this year.
That's because no one's thinking of the children. All right, so this has been the Geek Down here on WEMF Radio. I want to thank you all for joining us for another action-packed, fun-filled show. I want to thank Just Johnny.
Yo.
I want to thank Mix Macabre.
Bye.
I want to thank our in-house guests.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And I want to remind you, you can check out the Watch City Steampunk Festival at
WatchCityFestival.com.
All right, and you can also bone up on Mrs. Hawking's escapades at
www.mrshawking.com.
All right, look into it. And on May 13th, be ready to patronize the Watch City Steampunk Festival right here in lovely Waltham, Massachusetts. All right, and also when you sign out, I want to say hey to DJ Herbie Herb. And I want to remind you all that you can catch us every Monday night here on WMFradio.com. But you can also watch us and see our pretty faces at twitch.tv/thegeekdown and catch up with us on social media. Hit us up on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on YouTube, all at The Geek Down. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Tell us how amazing we are, or hit us up at geekdownradio@gmail.com if you have anything you want to chime in on, and we'll have a conversation back and forth. And until next week, I think pretty much it. Thank you all for joining us. And there's nothing else to say. I hope you all be excellent to each other. Peace.